Well, I think if you judge this game based solely on the result, you can be like what I'm reading right now on Twitter. Roma stink. This team's awful. Get these guys out of here. The only one who's worthy of this team is Dybala. And I think these really discount the entire situation. Let's take a step back, guys. Let's look at this match in its entirety. Let's look at the past month in its entirety as well. So I see a couple people jumping in. Throw your comments. If you're watching this recorded as well, leave your comments as well, just the same. So right now, Roma just played a couple days ago, right, versus Milan on Saturday. That was at 12 o'clock New York time, 6 o'clock, whatever, Saturday evening in Rome. It is 4 days later. It is 4 days after one of the most difficult matches that Roma had in their season, one of the most physical, one where they ran the most. Before that, guess what? Another midweek match. Guess what? Before that, another match 3 days ahead of time. So Roma come into this one not only exhausted physically, but also mentally depleted. On top of that, missing all key players. Go from top to bottom. Who's Roma's most effective forward? Dybala. Who's the most quality proven center midfielder? Gini Wijnaldum. Who's the guy who organizes the back line? Chris Smalling. Then if you want to throw in Karsdorp in there as well, who would be Roma's starting right back right now, and all of a sudden you're painting a picture of, oh, okay, I kind of get it. What I won't excuse though is I think just some overall poor moments. And Bove had a really good game today, but even like his legs caught up to him. You could see in the 82nd minute, 85th minute, he puts in a cross. It's very tired. It goes over the entire cast who's trying to get into there and get a header in on net. And it fizzles out into absolutely nothing. Unfortunately, Germanicus, if you're watching this today, it's not really good news. So let's take a look also at the Serie A standings right now. And you know what? Let's take a look at also around the league. And we've got a bunch of matches that you could see under there below. I guess the big score line here is Verona, and they get killed by Inter Milan, who picks up the 3 points. That is 0-6. Yes. Let's see who scored in that one. Martinez scored twice, Dzeko twice, Çalhanoğlu once, and Gaich an own goal from Verona. Unbelievable stuff. Juventus pick up the win over Lecce. Atalanta beat Spezia with 3 goals. It's one of their more goals scored match of the season. They typically don't score as many, but you can see them getting a bunch there. Milan ties Cremonese. Cremonese gets a red card in that. So Roma failed to make up ground. This would have been a great one. See Milan still fluttering, stuttering, whatever you want to call it. Lazio beat Sassuolo. Lazio is going to take second place this year in Serie A. Sampdoria fall again. This time it comes away, or Torino is away, and they beat them in Genoa. Salernitana Fiorentina 3-3. That was a great match. Biraghi gets the third goal there for Fiorentina, but not right before Blaya Dia. Dia scores his Dia, right? Yeah, Blaya Dia scores his 15th goal of the season, gets a hat trick in that one. What a player, 26 years old, on loan from Villarreal. And we've also got, as I said, Juventus beat Lecce. So let's get the standings right now. I'm going to pull this up. Let's present this slide, share screen. And there we go. And that's our Serie A table, people. Okay, so Lazio, as I mentioned, they're going to get second place, I think, with Juventus just 1 point off of them. I didn't realize Juve was just 1 point off. It's tremendous. Inter 60 points. Now that makes them 2 ahead of Roma. So I guess really not all is lost, because by the end of this, I'm feeling like that's it. There's no more chances. But let's imagine a world where Roma beat Inter this weekend. Well, okay, then you leapfrog. It's not, I know you're looking at this match and you're probably like, Wayne, there's no way this Roma is going to be Inter, but you never know. You got to give the boys their chance. Let's see what happens. Hope for the best. You never know what happens with these big match attitudes too. Maybe they get more hyped over it. Maybe Dybala comes back. Maybe, a couple guys come off the sidelines as well. It's a bit more organized. It's more of the original starting lineup. It's more Mourinho-esque, let's say. And I'm hoping for that. I think that Roma can frustrate Inter Milan. And I just want to point out that match is going to be where? It's not coming up for me. Come on. It's in Rome. Very good. So you can see that I'm still sharing this year. So that one's going to be in Rome. Overall, I think I'm disappointed in the sense that even when it comes to the B team, let's say, and it's the guys who typically don't play, whether it's Volpato who gets some minutes in or Sobakin, the objective has to remain the same, right? You come up against a Monza, a team that just came from Serie B. They've got a bunch of players they threw together, guys that grind out wins. Palladino just won Coach of the Month for the Serie A award. You expect to win. You still have Cristante out there, Lorenzo Pellegrini, Tammy Abraham, El Shaarawy. You would think that that quality could make them overcome the opponent. But just to reiterate, mentally, physically exhausted. And you know that if Roma had their main guys, this would be a different scoreline. Let's look at the starting lineup here, though. Selic, Mancini, Ibanez. So Selic steps in as the third of the center back in lieu of Smalling there, of course, and Kumbula, who's also out. Then Zalewski, Bove, Cristante, El Shaarawy. So Bove gets to start again. Zalewski goes on the right. Meanwhile, El Shaarawy plays more of a defensive role, which I thought he did really good at, with Pellegrini, Solbakken, and Abraham above him. I don't, you know what? Let's go to the next slide. I don't think that the trident really works. I don't like Pellegrini playing like this trequartista role off the side. I like him much more centrally. Solbakken, he can play. He can get players one-on-one. I don't think he was isolated enough today with being able to get. It seemed like he was always being double or triple marked, which was very frustrating. And Tammy dropped back. He didn't really offer too much in front of goal. But I have to say that his delivery was also putrid. It was terrible. Like, he really got no great opportunities today. So let's put that into context for Tammy. Zalewski, it's funny, you know, as soon as Spinazzola comes on, and let's look at the subs. As soon as Spinazzola comes on, it just changes. Like, there's immediately a goal scoring opportunity. I think it was El Shaarawy who made the diagonal run across, maybe like 18 yards out, 16 yards out from goal. And it could have been something. Ultimately, it's nothing, but it just shows you the brain and the understanding of the game. And I don't know what Zalewski's best role yet is. I want to say it's at a left winger, but does he shoot well enough to be a winger? Truly? I haven't seen that yet. There's nothing to prove that or suggest that to me. Is he good as a left wing back? Maybe. Like, that was his role last year and he did it really well. However, at the same time, like, it's tough for me to say. Maybe he needs more of a right back or a left center back who can push him up a little bit more, give him a little bit more confidence to go forward and then add himself into the attack that way. But right now, I think it's a stretch to say that Zalewski has been an impact player. I wouldn't say that at the very least. But I think the good was Cristante. Bove was really good today as well. Mancini was fine. Selic defensively, he was okay. Ibanez, whatever. Good El Shaarawy too. I think that he tried to create something out of nothing. He tried to take the game into his hands at times, but you know, he does get the goal, and that comes from Tammy pressing. Pellegrini, I wouldn't say he was good or bad. He was just kind of there. I felt that Zalewski also just kind of there. Sobak and the same story. Abraham, very much the same, right? So that would be the bad and the ugly. The good is just a couple players today. And it's hard to really, I think, zero in on and say that anybody had a really great performance. So back to these subs. We see Madi Kamara come on in for Sobak, and Mourinho changes the tactics a little bit, gets more players forward. Volpato, I love what he offers. I don't know why he hasn't gotten more time this season. I think that he's somebody who can create out of nothing. He has a little bit of a spark in him. He looks to go forward. He likes to break the lines, take players one-on-one. He's dynamic, and I really like what he offers. I just wish we saw a little bit more of him. And like I said, I'm not totally sure why we haven't seen more. But let's go to the comments. They're coming in now, so let's take a look at that. Okay. A little personal. Yeah, I live in the USA. I live in Jersey City, right outside Manhattan. I can actually see the skyline from my steps. Marco checks in. I'm sure Marco's really happy with today's match. Rocco's here. He says, we're fighting for the top four with academy players and our two most important starters injured. Also, Monza's passing game best in Europe. What the hell? Yeah. As I was mentioning in the intro to this episode here, Rocco, like Monza played decent. They're in 10th place, maybe 9th now. Last that I checked, and they are, I don't want to use that word dynamic. They're a fluid team. Like, they definitely know what's required out of them. Their players are not afraid to take their own space. They're not afraid to attack, to press. They're confident. It's also a bunch of guys who are like in the middle of their careers. They don't have a mix of like old guys who get tired or young guys who are inexperienced. Gianluca Caprari, Scamacca, they've got a list. Their defensive line, like they're good. Izzo, who is a proven center back, at times that people, I think he got into trouble with betting about 5 years ago, but before that, he was rumored to be going to a big club because of his quality, and then that happened in his career. So very frustrating, and yeah, they moved the ball quite well. Adnan says this result disappointing. We still have 5 matches. Yeah, it's May 3rd. It's crazy to think that there's still 5 matches to play. This season in particular is going to run very deep into late May. And yeah, Cristante was playing defense. He was part of the back 3. So, and I thought that Cristante had a decent game overall from what you could expect out of him back there. Rock says Mu is guilty of not starting his best. Salik and Bove should not be starting. But what is the alternative there? Like, Bove, I think, has... Do you think that Kamara should be the starter over Bove? It's hard for me to say that. From what I've seen from Bove, I really liked him. Against Milan, he had a really good match. At times today, he was one of the few players looking to drive the ball forward. Marco says, who's at fault now? Not enough quality, lack of depth, injuries, opponent having more time to rest, limited squad, Pellegrini playing injured, Tammy out of form, stars in the line. I feel like a little bit of it is stars not aligning. And we're looking for that miracle to come out of nowhere, but really, it wasn't going to come unless you have that player who feels it in them. And I just feel that with the way that this went and how tired the players are, and like everything that's pointed out here, that yeah, like, you know what, it was a good team that Roma played against, and nothing was working for them. Okay, 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. Why don't we play that instead of this 3-4-2-1? I don't know. I wish I had the answer to that. My go-to answer is that Mourinho does not feel comfortable with the players he has, or just feels that the ones that he does have are more adept at this. Like they could play 4-2-3-1. Maybe he's thinking this, but it's forced. I don't know. But if you look, do we have a true left back? Spinazzola is a wing back. Zalewski, no, absolutely not. Maybe with Karsdorp, you have a right back. Maybe this Salik, I would say, is more of a true right back. If you go and you get like someone like Biraghi, let's say, guy's a pure, maybe not pure, but maybe like Parisi even. I'm trying to like a Fabiano Parisi from Empoli. He could probably play in a back 4, would be more accustomed to it on the defensive side of things. Just because Ibanez can't defend. No, I think that Smalling and Mancini can definitely play in a back 2. Or, as part of the back 4 centrally. I want to believe that. But I wonder if it comes down to the left back. I wonder if it comes down to not having a regista, or maybe I feel like you could put El Shaarawy there. You could play Pellegrini centrally. So maybe it all comes back to that left back and the center midfielder. Got to think about that one a little bit more. Let's see if Mourinho speaks about that as well going forward. Young Dashi says Pellegrini has been that annoyingly average this season, not good or bad, just there. As you said, tough one for Lorenzo, but once again, he's gassed. I know that his form in the past month has been pretty good. I think we've all enjoyed the way that Lorenzo's been playing, but yet again, he returns to that this past season's form where he just kind of like floats around, and it's simply not good enough. And Kamara played well. Kamara has played well, which is interesting for me. It's like, every time I've seen Kamara, I don't know. He hasn't been that bad, but we've got where's it going? Okay. We've got the Mourinho comments coming in right now. I'm going to translate this real quick. And then we're going to, Mourinho spoke to DAZN, and he's first asked, was it difficult tonight for you or no? And he says, let this translate. Come on. He says, many times attention is directly proportional to physical and the mental conditions. Wow. I feel like I just have been saying that. He says, when you're tired, it's not easy. We had people in difficulty in terms of tiredness on the pitch, like Pellegrini, Mancini, and Cristante. They are on the edge of their fitness, but play with pride, which is in the DNA of this team. People play on difficulty, and others without having the quality to play this at this level. Non-existent bench. Straight up, just a non-existent bench. People play on, he says, the boys did their best. The result is suitable for the match. To say that Roma deserved to win seems biased. If I say that Monza deserved it, well, that's not true. The result fits the match. Playing with the worst referee I've met in my career is tough, and I've seen very few as bad. It didn't influence the result, but it's hard to play with this ref. Technically, it's awful. Even from a human point of view, he is not empathetic, I think it's supposed to say. It doesn't build relationships with anyone. He doesn't build them. From a red card to one that slips into a now dead game, we as a society don't have the strength to say that we don't want this ref. I stopped working with 20 minutes to go because I knew he was going to kick me out. Roma must grow in this. Roma do not have the ability or the DNA to ask not to have this referee anymore. I wanted to be on the pitch on Saturday because we play against a great team like Inter. I had a tremendous desire to take the red, but I didn't. Roma must grow in this. Roma do not have the ability or the DNA to not ask, as he keeps saying this. Like, they can't ask for this. It's repeated 3 times. He said, I had a tremendous desire to take the red, but I didn't. Now onto the injuries, which I think we're pretty much waiting on. And he says, when you have a team with 30 equal players, you don't have these injuries because you make a sub on the 60th minute. That's not us. Some teams have done badly in Europe and play one game a week. That's not us. We are the only team that doesn't have the squad to stay where they are. We are in the semifinals of a European competition. We played 2 extra games with Salzburg. We fight for high places in the league, and we don't have the strength to do it. Then there is accumulation. How many games has El Shaarawy played in the last few years? How many has he played this year? Same for Smalling. It's borderline exhaustion. For this reason, I am with them until the last minute of this season. They deserve me to be here until the last minute, always saying the same. I'm proud to work with these guys here. So, yeah, that's it to a T, no? Like, there's just not the personnel. You can't rotate. I think that times Mourinho has been criticized. Like, why is he still playing this guy? Because you can't go to a suitable option off the bench. And this is in my lifetime, right? Roma's expectations here. What's been put into the stove here. What you get out of it here. You're not going to put a pizza with garbage ingredients and out of the oven after it's being cooked. You're going to get a pizza that tastes like this, right? It doesn't work like that. Okay, let's look at some more comments. Marco says no bench because Jose throw 10 players out of the squad. Who, like Veretout? Veretou's doing nothing out in France now. Absolutely nothing. But I would take Cengiz Under back. I think after that goal he scored a couple days ago. That was quite the goal, maybe yesterday. Spandan says the expectation shouldn't be high in this team. The lineup. Many of the players have not played with each other, and the chemistry isn't there. Kamara over Bove, or even Matic over Bove. Matic had a yellow card. He couldn't play today, Rocco. He was suspended. Spina should be starting. I would switch Zalewski over onto the right and keep Selic off the field. This is a new one. Roma doesn't have the DNA. My God, I've heard it all now. Where are all the critics for Tammy? Every week, Pellegrini takes heat, but Tammy isn't scoring. You're a striker. One job, score. Roma, primarily, we are because Tammy isn't scoring, but sell Nico. So if we want to talk about Tammy, like on one end, I agree. And he hasn't done nearly enough this season. And today, much of a ghost. I wouldn't say he got really involved. I did think that he had some good hold-up play, but a striker is never just hold-up play. Eventually, you have to score goals. Tammy did score a goal 98 minutes ago. He scored against Milan at the death, which should have been a game-winning goal. Like, he did show up today. Rougher, not as much. But on the flip side, what type of service did he get? What type of real opportunities? How many other players got forward and tried to combine? He had a couple runs, and every time he did, he was marked by at least 1 or 2 guys in the box. Like, I don't think that Tammy was the biggest of Roma's problems. However, that, like you said, Rocco, that doesn't absolve him of criticism because players are paid, and when the results don't go your way, ultimately, that's who you go to. That's their job. Okay, guys. I'm going to take one quick look around the news cycle. I want to see if I want to check if there's any other comments. But other than that, you know what to do, guys. Thank you very much for your time, and keep throwing those comments in if it's delayed or whatever. If you're watching me recorded, check out this banner. By the way, it says "Fight with your heart," and then something that I can't read from here. It says, "We believe," however, I think, if I can see from afar there. I'm going to take that down. But I thought that was a pretty cool banner. Also, shout out to the Roma women's team. Roma Femminile just won this first Scudetto. So that's a nice little bright moment from today. Last comment coming in here. For me, it's all the same all season. No criticism for players. I am convinced we have good players and a C-mile manager. Okay. Tammy's goal was great, but we don't need Tammy ghosting 93 minutes and then scoring a garbage time goal. Garbage time? Come on. But no, I definitely agree. I mean, like, I'm going to go play tonight, right? If I'm playing center forward, I'm not chilling the whole game. Even if my coach wants me up, I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to demand it. I'm going to get into my player's skin, the guys who are behind me. I'm going to yell at my center mid like, yo, we need to go. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get onto the end of the ball. And at times, I don't see that from Tammy. And I do think that is a long-term issue. I don't know if Tammy sticks around past August, to be honest with you. I read constantly of rumors. I don't know if a player who's going to be 25 years old and wants to get back into the national team wants to stick around in Rome. If I were him, I'd probably be thinking of Aston Villa or going back to Chelsea or whatever. Pick a top 12 EPL team, right? So, yeah, long term, I'm not so sure about that. El Shaarawy, that guy could stay and retire in Rome. I'd be happy to see that. But, Roma don't get top 4, then it's going to be very much of the same. They spent 7 million euros last summer on Salik. He was the only player that had a transfer fee attached. Everybody else was a free transfer. At this point in time, I'm anticipating a summer which looks just like last summer, especially as Roma continues to lose money, because I think that player fans constantly want new players and stuff, right? And we go back to expectations, but it's a massive yacht with a hole in its side that dollars are just going into the sea constantly, and it's impossible, or not, I shouldn't say it's impossible, but it's not sustainable that any ownership anywhere without a stadium, without property attached to the club, is going to go in and just, for what? Because they love the team, because they played with them on FIFA career mode like I used to, and I just want to keep on pumping money and losing money. No sensible person does that. Not anymore. Not with the risk that goes on with the losses and player wages the way that they are today. So that won't happen. But if Roma can get back into the top 4, beat Inter this weekend, possibly win the Europa League, then we're talking. Then maybe you go and get Fratesi, okay? Then it's a horse of a different color. Let's talk later. Nice. Thanks for joining. As always, hopefully it's, a decent time for you now. And what do I got? I got 5:40. My game's in 3 hours. I'm going to go eat some Thai food with my wife. So, and the baby. Yeah. Talk to you guys soon.